When we discuss the figure of the chosen one, we often imagine them as individuals who are confident, determined, and steadfast in their mission. Today, I want to address a less conventional version, the confused chosen one. You can explore more about the various types of chosen ones in the link on your screen now. Confused chosen occupy a unique space, marked by a mixture of divine destiny and human dilemmas. These individuals, although blessed with a special calling or a lofty purpose, often find themselves navigating through a sea of doubt and uncertainty. They are destined to play very important roles in their spiritual communities or societies, but face unique challenges in fully understanding and accepting their purpose. The nature of their mission is often shrouded in mystery and requires deep and continuous introspection. They may feel the weight of not only self-imposed expectations, but also those around them who recognize their capacity for leadership and change. However, clarity does not always accompany awareness of their calling, leading to moments of confusion and questioning about the correct path to follow. These chosen ones find themselves at a point of indecision, hesitating over which path to take, struggling with internal conflicts and the weight of their responsibilities. Unlike their more determined peers, they are often trapped in a cycle of doubt and conflicting choices. This can occur for various reasons. For example, they may face contradictory external influences that disturb their inner clarity, or perhaps they are still in a process of self-knowledge and spiritual discovery. In addition, social expectations and pressures can overload their judgments, causing them to doubt their own intuitions. At this stage, it is common for confused chosen to feel isolated or misunderstood by those who seem to have a more defined direction in their spiritual lives. They may also question the validity of their experiences or the weight of their responsibilities, oscillating between the desire to follow a higher calling and the temptation to abandon this journey in search of a simpler or more conventional life. This internal struggle is a critical part of their development, for it is through it that many chosen ones gain the strength and wisdom needed to finally emerge with a clear vision of their role in the world and a renewed firmness on their spiritual path. This state of confusion is not just a passing phase. It can be an integral part of a chosen one's journey. While some are clear and straightforward about their mission from the start, others may need more time to understand and accept their role. This hesitation is not necessarily a sign of weakness. It may be an indication that they are deeply processing the meaning and implications of their choices. Confused chosen often find themselves in a constant search for guidance. This characteristic is marked by a deep need to find direction and answers outside of themselves, reflecting their internal struggle and the uncertainty they feel about the right path to follow. For these individuals, the search for guidance can manifest itself in various ways. They may seek advice from spiritual leaders, mentors, or authority figures in their religious communities. Often, they turn to sacred texts, scriptures, and other spiritual materials in search of insights and clarity. This reliance on external sources is a reflection of their intense desire to do the right thing and to follow the path that has been destined for them, even when their own perceptions seem cloudy or contradictory. The search for guidance can also lead confused choosers to practice various forms of meditation, prayer, and other spiritual disciplines. These practices not only help them to find peace and balance, but also to hear that inner voice, which is often drowned out by doubts and confusion. Meditation and prayer become essential tools for calming their minds and opening their hearts to the answers they so desperately seek. In addition, the search for guidance may involve consulting friends, family, and community members, people they trust and who they believe have a clearer vision or a stronger connection to spirituality. This characteristic highlights the humility of the confused chosen, as it shows their willingness to admit that they don't have all the answers and that they are open to learning and growing through the experiences and knowledge of others. However, this incessant search for guidance can also lead to challenges. Excessive dependence on outside opinions can result in even more confusion, especially when the advice received is conflicting. Confused choosers need to balance the wisdom received from outside with intuition and inner discernment, developing confidence in their own spiritual abilities and decisions. In short, the search for guidance is a defining characteristic of confused choosers, revealing both their vulnerability and their strength. It is a continuous journey of learning and discovery, where each step, guided by advice and reflection, brings them closer to fully understanding their spiritual purpose and mission. A defining characteristic of the confused chosen is constant self-questioning. This trait reveals a deep inclination towards introspection and self-analysis, often provoked by uncertainty about their decisions and the true purpose of their spiritual journey. Self-questioning is both a blessing and a challenge, for while it promotes growth and self-understanding, it can also lead to paralyzing indecision. Confused choosers often wonder about the authenticity of their motivations and the legitimacy of their actions. They scrutinize every choice and decision, reflecting on whether they are really following the divine call or whether they are being influenced by external pressures and personal desires. This level of introspection is an attempt to align their lives with what they believe to be God's will, seeking to live according to high spiritual principles and values. This process of self-questioning can lead confused choosers to deeply explore their own identities and convictions. They may go through intense phases of doubt, where every thought and action is scrutinized. Questions like, am I really following God's will? Or am I making this decision for myself or for others? Are common and reflect the seriousness with which they treat their spiritual path. On the other hand, this constant introspection can generate feelings of inadequacy and doubt. The fear of making the wrong decision or not living up to their calling can be overwhelming. Confused choosers can feel trapped in a cycle of doubt, where each answer generates new questions, perpetuating a state of uncertainty. This can result in paralyzing hesitation, making it difficult to make decisions and progress on their spiritual journey. However, self-questioning is also a source of strength and growth. By continually questioning their own motivations and actions, the confused chosen develop an acute awareness of themselves and their purpose. This practice helps them to identify areas where they need to grow and to correct course when necessary. It is through this process that they are able to deepen their faith and confidence in their own abilities, eventually finding clarity and direction in the midst of confusion. To mitigate the challenges of self-questioning, confused chosen can benefit from self-care practices and community support. Establishing a routine of meditation, prayer, and reflection can provide moments of calm and clarity. In addition, seeking support from spiritual mentors or faith communities can offer valuable perspectives and lessen the burden of indecision. In conclusion, self-questioning is a central characteristic of confused choosers, highlighting both their internal struggles and their potential for profound spiritual growth. It is a practice that, although challenging, has the power to transform uncertainty into wisdom and doubt into unshakable faith. Internal conflict is a defining characteristic of the confused chosen, reflecting the constant struggle between different aspects of their identities and beliefs. This state of inner turmoil is often caused by the disparity between what they feel they should do and what is expected of them, both by their own expectations and those of others. Confused choosers often find themselves torn between their spiritual calling and worldly pressures. On the one hand, they feel a deep connection with their divine purpose and an intense desire to follow that path. On the other hand, they face social, family, and cultural expectations that may not align with their spiritual mission. This duality can cause a feeling of being caught between two worlds, unable to fully commit to either side. They may feel guilt or shame for not fully living their spiritual calling, while at the same time feeling fear or insecurity about the consequences of following this path. The pressure to meet the expectations of others can lead them to question their own authenticity and the validity of their choices. This can result in a constant reevaluation of their decisions and a never-ending cycle of doubts and regrets. Confused choosers' internal conflict also extends to their emotional life. They can experience a roller coaster of emotions, oscillating between hope and despair, confidence and doubt. This emotional whirlwind can be exhausting and can hamper their ability to make clear, assertive decisions. The struggle to balance their emotions can lead to moments of intense introspection, where they seek to better understand their deepest motivations and desires. To deal with this internal conflict, it is crucial for confused choosers to develop practices of self-care and self-compassion. Setting aside time for meditation, prayer, and reflection can help calm the mind and provide clarity. Practices such as journaling, where they can express their thoughts and feelings without judgment, can be especially useful for identifying patterns of conflict and working through them. In addition, seeking support from spiritual mentors, therapists, or faith communities can offer a valuable outside perspective. These guides can help confused choosers navigate their inner struggles and find a path that honors both their spiritual calling and their personal needs. They can provide tools and strategies to reconcile these conflicting parts of their identity and create a sense of inner balance and harmony. Ultimately, the confused chooser's inner conflict is an integral part of their spiritual journey. Although it can be challenging, it is also an opportunity for profound growth and self-discovery. By facing and working through these conflicts, they can develop a resilience and clarity that will enable them to follow their path with more confidence and purpose. This internal struggle, when managed well, can become a source of strength and wisdom, allowing the confused chosen to fulfill their destiny in a fuller and more authentic way. Confused chosen ones often experience intense emotional fluctuations, a characteristic that reflects the depth of their inner experiences and the complexity of their spiritual journeys. These emotional variations can be both a source of great insight and a significant challenge, influencing their ability to make decisions and maintain a sense of stability. These emotional fluctuations are often triggered by the uncertainties and doubts that confused choosers face. The constant search for answers and the struggle to understand their divine purpose can lead them to alternate between feelings of hope and despair, trust and doubt. One moment, they may feel a deep connection with their spiritual path, feeling enlightened and inspired. The next, they may be consumed by feelings of inadequacy and fear, questioning whether they are really on the right path. The intensity of these emotions can be exacerbated by the heightened sensitivity that many confused choosers possess. They pick up and absorb energies from the environment and the people around them, which can amplify their own emotions. This hypersensitivity can cause small external disturbances to have a disproportionate impact on their emotional state, creating a roller coaster of feelings that can be difficult to manage. For confused choosers, these emotional fluctuations can also be linked to the internal struggle between their desire to follow a spiritual path and worldly pressures and expectations. The conflict between the spiritual calling and the demands of everyday life can generate emotional tension, resulting in ups and downs that reflect the struggle to find balance and harmony between these divergent aspects of their lives. Managing these emotional fluctuations requires conscious practices of self-care and self-compassion. Mindfulness techniques, such as meditation and conscious breathing, can help calm the mind and stabilize emotions. Daily meditation can provide a safe space for confused choosers to reconnect with their inner center, allowing them to observe their emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Another effective strategy is to engage in creative and physical activities. Artistic expression, such as writing, painting, or music, can be a powerful outlet for processing and channeling intense emotions. Physical activities, such as nature walks, yoga, or regular exercise, can also help release emotional tension and promote a state of well-being. The search for meaning is a central characteristic of confused choosers, reflecting their deep desire to understand the greater purpose of their lives and the experiences they face. This incessant search for meaning is not just an intellectual curiosity, but a spiritual and existential need that drives their actions and decisions. Confused. Choosers often wonder about the purpose of their existence and the meaning of the events that occur around them. They seek to understand how their personal experiences fit into the bigger picture of the divine plan. This desire for understanding goes beyond superficial answers and delves into philosophical and spiritual questions. They want to know not only the what and the how, but above all the why of their lives. This search for meaning can lead confused choosers to explore various spiritual, philosophical, and religious traditions. They may study sacred texts, participate in different spiritual practices, and seek the advice of various spiritual masters. This spiritual eclecticism reflects their desire to find answers that resonate deeply with their essence and explain their experiences in a holistic way. In addition, the search for meaning leads confused chosen to an intense process of introspection. They spend long periods reflecting on their experiences, trying to decipher the hidden teachings in each event and challenge. This process of self-analysis helps them develop a deeper understanding of themselves and their motivations, allowing them to align their actions with their spiritual purpose. Confused chosen often find themselves in a state of isolation, both physical and emotional. This isolation is not necessarily imposed by external circumstances, but is often a conscious or unconscious choice arising from the intensity of their spiritual journey and the uncertainties they face. One of the main reasons for this isolation is the feeling that their experiences and perceptions are unique and misunderstood by others. Confused chosen may feel that the spiritual challenges and dilemmas they face are difficult to explain or share with people who are not on the same spiritual path. This feeling of being different can lead them to withdraw socially, preferring solitude to the superficiality of connections that don't resonate with their depth of thought and feeling. In addition, isolation can be a response to the desire for deep introspection. Confused chosen often withdraw into themselves, seeking answers and clarity away from the noise and distractions of the outside world. This inner retreat is an attempt to hear their own inner voice and discern divine guidance without the interference of other people's opinions and expectations. Solitude, in this context, becomes a sacred space where they can explore their deepest emotions and thoughts without judgment. The heightened sensitivity that many confused chosen possess also contributes to isolation. Absorbing the energies and emotions of others can be exhausting and overwhelming, causing them to seek refuge in solitude to recharge their energies. Constant contact with external vibrations can create an emotional overload, and isolation offers a much-needed break to process these influences and restore internal balance. Isolation can be exacerbated by the internal conflict that confused chosen experience. The continual struggle between following their spiritual calling and meeting worldly demands can lead to a sense of disconnection from social norms and expectations. They can feel trapped between two worlds, unable to fully commit to either, which results in a withdrawal from both. This withdrawal can be a defense mechanism, allowing them to avoid the judgment and pressure of conforming to expectations that don't resonate with their true nature. However, this isolation can also lead to feelings of loneliness and alienation. Confused chosen can feel profoundly lonely, longing for genuine and meaningful connections that seem elusive. The lack of understanding and support from others can intensify the feeling of being lost and without direction, exacerbating their doubts and uncertainties. So, my confused friends, if you, as a chosen one, have ever felt lost or uncertain about the decisions you need to make, know that this experience is very common. Many face this doubt, questioning whether their choices truly reflect God's will. This is where spiritual discernment becomes an essential skill. But what exactly is spiritual discernment? And how can a confused chooser develop this crucial ability to navigate their journey with God? Spiritual discernment is the ability of the chosen to distinguish between right and wrong, true and false, good and evil, in the light of God's Word. The Apostle Paul speaks about this in Philippians. And this I pray, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and in all discernment, that you may approve the things that are excellent, that you may be sincere and blameless for the day of Christ. It is fundamental for the chosen to discern which decisions are complex, allowing for in-depth reflection on them. However, it is important not to procrastinate or be paralyzed by indecision, nor to allow others to make these decisions in their place. How to start this process? First of all, the chosen must invest in self-knowledge, understanding their personal values. With this in mind, they should ask themselves, is this decision in line with my essence, or am I being influenced by other people's opinions? Am I deciding based solely on my desires, or considering what is best for the greatest number of people? What are the origins and possible consequences of this decision? These questions will help guide your choices consciously and in line with your greater purpose. Understanding free will is especially crucial for the confused chosen. Although they may feel overwhelmed by doubts and various influences, they still possess the essential ability to make their own choices. Recognizing this autonomy can be a fundamental step for them to gain confidence in their decisions and navigate their spiritual missions more clearly. Thus, even in the midst of confusion, the chosen ones can learn to use their free will to align their actions with divine purposes, understanding that each choice plays an important role in the unfolding of their destiny. Regarding free will, it's important to recognize that if we make a wrong decision, God won't always intervene to stop us. We will probably face the consequences of our choices. However, God always gives us the opportunity to go back and do the right thing. He will not abandon us if we make a mistake. God has the power to transform even our worst decisions when we seek His help to correct them, as Romans teaches. God makes all things work together for good for those who love Him. Free will is the ability we have to make independent choices without being coerced into following a certain direction. It is this ability to choose that makes each of us responsible for our own actions. God gave us free will to show His love for us by allowing us to love Him voluntarily. After all, only those who have the freedom to choose can truly love. We are not mere puppets in God's hands. He values us and has given us this freedom because we are precious to Him. Free will, however, carries with it great responsibility. Our choices have consequences, and we are responsible for them. Having free will does not exempt us from the repercussions of our actions, which are shaped by divine laws, as Romans explains. God, being omniscient, knows the decisions we will make, but that doesn't cancel out our free will. He anticipates our choices, but it is we who make them. God uses our decisions to shape his plans, like a professional chess player who foresees his opponent's moves and adjusts his strategy accordingly. So even though we exercise our freedom of choice, God remains sovereign. You may be asking yourself, but how can we decide which path is best? For the chosen ones, there is no such thing as the best way. The mistake lies in looking for the best. Whether it's your mission, your relationships, your spiritual choices, there is no single best choice. If you, as the chosen one, dedicate yourself fully to what you choose, it will become great. Focus on accomplishing something meaningful, without comparisons. Give yourself wholeheartedly, and any path you follow will be wonderful. It's important to abandon the idea of always looking for the best thing or the ideal person in life. There's no such thing as perfection. Constantly comparing and questioning whether something is the best can lead to persistent confusion. Even in extreme situations, such as when choosing a coffin, this tendency to compare can be disturbing, as it reflects a life marked by incessant comparisons. On the spiritual path, the decision about whether to follow one's own judgment or let others influence can be challenging. Leaving important decisions in the hands of another can result in choosing what seems most appropriate at the time, while making one's own choice can lead to opting for comfort, which doesn't always produce the best results, or can be a longer route than necessary. Individual comfort is not the main focus. What is essential is to ensure that the destination is reached efficiently, considering that time and energy are limited. Without a clear and direct path, it's easy to get lost. And if you found this content enlightening and inspiring, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth discussions and spiritual guidance. Want to know more about the other types of chosen ones and find out which one you fit into? Comment below and share which type of chosen one you'd like to explore in our next discussion.